I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's the regularly scheduled meeting of the Transportation Public Works Committee. I'm Councilmember Reich. I chair this committee, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Councilmembers Yang, Council Vice President Glidden, and Councilmember Palmisano. We're quorum and may proceed with today's agenda, which has a total of 9 items, 1 discussion, 1 public hearing, the remainder consent. I'll go through the consent items first. Any committee member can pull them for further consideration if they wish. Item 2 is the 10th Avenue Southeast River Bridge Design Services, a request for proposals. Item 3 is the Lowry Avenue Functional Classification Change. Item 4 is the Nicollet Mall Reconstruction Project Contract Amendments with a series of actions that are listed. Item 5 is the agreement with the Metropolitan Council for the Hiawatha Light Rail Trail Lighting Project. Authorization of funds for that. Item 6 is the accepting of the donation for the garden shed for the Loring Greenway Association. Item 7 is the Special Service District's 2018 proposed service charges, and we'll set a public hearing for that September 26, 2017. Item 8 is the bid for parking ramp condensing unit replacement project, and that's a low bid that we would accept. Anyone wish to pull any of those items from consent? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Dissenting nay. Those carry, and now we can go to the public hearing, which is sidewalk repair and construction. Good morning, Director Hutchinson.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Mike Kennedy is going to present some information on the passage of the resolution adopting the assessments on sidewalk repair and construction.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Mike Kennedy, Director of Transportation, Maintenance, and Repair for Public Works. We're here this morning for the public hearing for sidewalk repair and construction. Public Works completed its annual condemnation and repair of public sidewalks in 2016. Property owners had the option of contracting for the repairs themselves or allowing the city to complete the work and be billed or assessed for the work. For those choosing the latter, this action is to proceed with the process for collecting those assessments. An assessment letter was sent to property owners, which included advising them to contact Public Works Sidewalk Inspections in writing if they had an issue with their assessment. Sidewalk Inspections then contacted the property owner to discuss the concerns regarding work and pending assessments. If a resolution could not be worked out, the property owner was advised that the next step would be to appear before an administrative hearing officer. On July 11th, we had that administrative hearing. The assessments proposed in this action include the results of all discussions with property owners at that hearing. Just as a side note, there were 9 people that attended, 11 total people had questions about it. The administrative hearing officer approved 8 of those 9 for full assessment and did reduce 1. And that's all reflected on the list you have. The properties to be listed to be assessed, or as listed to be assessed, dated August 3rd, 2017, as on file with the City Engineers Special Assessment Office, had sidewalk repair work, construction work done during the 2016 work season by the city's sidewalk contractors. The amount to be assessed is special assessment principal in the cost of the work plus the sidewalk overhead charge. The sidewalk overhead charge is 10% of the cost of the work with a cap of $50. The total principal amount of the proposed assessments on the list of properties to be assessed, less prepayments and adjustments by the administrative hearing officer, is $1,110,460.99. As enumerated in the letter, there's a rate that these will be assessed at, and that is described in the letter. So our recommendation today is to pass a resolution levying the assessments and adopting the assessment rules for the repair and construction of public sidewalks on the list of properties dated August 3rd, 2017. And that's my presentation. I can answer questions if you'd like.
Any questions per the staff presentation? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing, and anyone can come forward and make comment. Does anyone wish to come forward? No one signed in. Anyone wish to come forward? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move the item. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Dissenting nay. That carries. Thank you. We can now go to item 9, discussion. Director Hutchinson.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, as you know, the I-35W and Lake Street Access Project has been many, many years in the making. There's a tremendous amount of ramp-up activity in anticipation of the start of construction. We are going to provide you this morning with an update on the project, where it is today, what you can anticipate. So Jenny Hager, the Director of Transportation Planning and Programming, has spent many hours and many years preparing us for this moment where we enter construction, and she's done an amazing job representing the city, especially on the Lake Street Transit access portion of it. She's joined by Paul Miller, who has been our point and will continue to be our point for you and others on this project as it rolls forward. So Jenny's going to make a short presentation, and I believe that Paul will be assisting as well.
Thank you, and good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members, Jennifer Hager, Public Works, Transportation, Planning and Programming. I'm here today to present a project update for you on the 35W and Lake Street project. This is a major regional milestone and initiative that is years in the making. We're now moving into construction, and this will require the work of hundreds of people and the patience of thousands. This project is a culmination of years of hard and dedicated work by an interagency project team and a fully engaged community, meeting over several years to help craft a design that would fit with the values and vision of the neighborhoods while also meeting the transportation needs. This project is located along 35W and was previously known as the Transit Access Project. It is now being referred to as 35 at 94, downtown to crosstown. It's a fairly new renaming of the project. Its limits, as the name indicates, run between downtown and the northern termini of the Crosstown Commons project at approximately 42nd Street in South Minneapolis. This project has a very long history, beginning in the late 90s as the Lake Street Access Project. The project was initiated not only in response to aging infrastructure, but also in response to the freeway having been originally constructed without full access at Lake Street. This has long been held as a disservice to the neighborhoods and an economic disadvantage to the businesses along Lake Street. Over time, as the project was on again and off again, the idea of bus rapid transit was introduced for this corridor and then partially advanced with the Urban Partnership Agreement. With this overall vision in mind, the City Council passed a resolution in 2007 calling for a fiscally responsible plan that would address the aging infrastructure, complete the full implementation of bus rapid transit in this corridor, improve access at Lake Street, and work to address past impacts to the neighborhoods. This was the launch of the Transit Access Project. This segment of 35W was originally constructed in 1965. Like many other interstate highways, this one split Minneapolis neighborhoods and changed the landscape of the city and the region. Since that time, the region's population has doubled in size, and our transportation system is challenged by both age and congestion. This project will rebuild 18 bridges and several miles of freeway and local street pavement. It will rebuild noise walls, address hazardous bottlenecks, improve reliability for transit, improve pedestrian and bicycle connections across the freeway, add access to Lake Street, and result in better mobility for all users of our transportation system. Consider transit for a moment. The Lake Street station is planned in a community that relies heavily on transit and where the most heavily used express corridor intersects with one of the most heavily used local bus corridors in the region. This transit station will make connections both north-south and east-west. And when the Orange Line Bus Rapid Transit is implemented, it will function as a hub of activity with up to 100 buses in the peak hour in the peak direction at the freeway level alone. Here are some images of the existing conditions that exist along the corridor, and they're not pretty. The pedestrian bridge at 24th Street is narrow and has a cage-like feel. You can see deterioration of the braid bridge where rebar is now visible through the concrete. Crumbling, non-accessible stairs are the only access to transit along 35W at Lake Street. This project needs to occur. The aging infrastructure means something needs to be done. The challenge was to craft a design that would fit with the values and vision of the neighborhoods while also meeting the transportation needs. 35W will provide a safer and more reliable commute for people, whether they drive, carpool, or use transit. We want them to use transit. The Orange Line Bus Rapid Transit will provide greater access to jobs in both downtown and the suburbs to the south, with frequent, reliable, all-day service similar to what you get with light rail transit. Local pedestrian and bicycle connections adjacent to and across the freeway, to and from transit, will all be much improved. And new access will make it easier for people to make their way to Lake Street and will provide an economic boost to the businesses along that corridor. And now I'm going to turn it over to Paul Miller to talk to you about the construction that's really starting right now and all of the efforts that have been going on to inform the community and the traveling public about that work. Excuse me.
Good morning.
Chairman Reich, members of the committee, I'm Paul Miller. I'm a project manager with Transportation Planning and Programming, and I'm the city's representative on the construction project for 35W. Obviously, construction actually is starting this week. It's intended to take 4.5 years. The bids came in at $239 million, and it went to a contracting team, local contractors of Ames, Schaefer, and Lunda. It was actually not a low bid project. It's what they call best value. So it was a combination of low bid, but also a number of technical scores contributed to pick or select the contracting team. So they got credit for things like workforce optimization, small business participation, and a lot of scheduling incentives. And so that's how the team was selected. Things are going to get started. I want to talk to you about things, I guess, in our immediate future for 2017. Actually, we, as we speak, a number of Public Works staff is actually at one of the very first construction meetings. They're talking this morning about utility rollouts. We have crews from our water department that are actually setting up temp water this week. This is located on like 5th Avenue, close to the 5th Avenue ramp to eastbound 94. We've got some water main work that'll get started this week. A lot of mobilization. You'll see MnDOT crews and contractors doing some clearing and grubbing at some along the freeway where there's going to be some construction planned. So a lot of, let's say this week and next week, a lot of prep work. The major work, though, for 2017 is really going to start after Labor Day. And that culminates with the closure of Portland Avenue over the freeway. Portland Avenue will be closed for about 6 to 8 weeks. So reopened again, I'm going to say approximately November of this fall. And that will coincide roughly with the reopening of Portland Avenue over the Greenway that the county is currently working on. So this fall, Portland Avenue will be completely open. Also, right around September 11th, they plan on closing the Franklin Avenue Bridge over the freeway. And then both 4th and 5th Avenue, 5th Avenue is from basically Franklin north to the Commons area will be closed for reconstruction. That all leads into next year, which is the, I'll say, the big year as far as impacts to the city. And that really starts immediately after the Super Bowl. Weather permitting, MnDOT crews and the contractor will try and get things going as soon as possible. Likely we would say probably March or April, but 2018 is a really big construction year. We're going to see the most amount of impacts. The first thing that obviously has got to happen is the Franklin Avenue Bridge over the freeway will reopen, and then that will lead to the closures of the 24th Street Ped Bridge and the 26th Street Bridge over the freeway will be closed. And then kind of the big hit is what we refer to as the Trunk Highway 65 freeway connection into downtown Minneapolis will be closed. All of this prep work we're doing this year and with the bridge work on Franklin and Portland is really an attempt to get the Trunk Highway 65 closure done within one construction season. So the freeway connection into downtown will close next spring, And then if everything hits the schedule, things will start to reopen in late fall of 2018. So basically, we've been planning around the Super Bowl, waiting for obviously that event to occur before a lot of the major hits take place. For 2018 is also when we'll be rerouting buses. The bus traffic from the freeway, the detour will start at 31st Street North into Minneapolis. The express routes, high volume routes coming from the South Metro will be using Park and Portland. And we'll be making some lane adjustments for the AM and PM peaks. Local buses will be routed on 31st, or will be routed on 1st and Blaisdell. And that's basically for that 2018 season as far as the bus detour routes. After 2018, things are going to start to ease up. More lanes will be open on the freeway. We'll get buses back on the freeway and things will get better. And then obviously as we progress towards the project completion in 2021. I did want to hit on a lot of the outreach that's been going on. There were actually a few of us that were on a bus tour last week, and then followed that evening by an open house. MnDOT is doing a considerable amount of, I'll say, communications, neighborhood outreach. They do plan on doing some future bus tours and future open houses based on kind of major events. So I could envision bus tours and open houses next spring prior to the closures. They're doing a lot of social media outreach. They've got a website. They've got a hotline. They've got an email blast. Actually, it works really good. I'm already getting blasts almost on a daily basis as far as events that are being planned in the immediate future. Their communications people are working with our communications people. Over the last couple months, they've done, I think it was something like 30,000 mailings to the immediate neighborhoods. So a lot of the information in this last sheet is certainly available to you. Also, they will be participating in this coming Sunday's Open Streets event on Franklin Avenue. And we'll be actually kind of across the street from each other and working with them as they distribute materials. And with that, I think we're available for questions.
Any questions per the presentation? Councilmember Glidden.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Well, I wanted to say thank you to our staff. Jenny, of course, Hager has followed this project and led on the project for a number of years. And thank you to Paul for his work now as we transfer to the active construction phase. I'll just say I feel like we still could use some more messaging from MnDOT on kind of what might be some of the changes on some of the elements to help the public understand a little bit more of the before and the after. And then just the last thing I'll say is the other thing I hope is that we'll be able to work with MnDOT on how they may or may not need to scale up their both communications and community engagement efforts. So I think they are definitely starting ahead of where they were with another very, very major project with a lot of impacts, which is Crosstown Commons. They used some good lessons from that. But this is an even bigger project in some ways, I think, because of the large touch on downtown and the large impacts there. So I think that's just my hope going forward, is that we'll continue to have a good working relationship with them, because my guess is that we will need to make changes in their plan, or they may need, I should say, they may need to make changes in their plan to accommodate issues that we are not anticipating with how the public tries to accommodate the changes that are happening. So, thank you.
Chairman Wright, Councilmember Glidden, to your point, actually, you had a really good idea last week at the open house regarding the kind of the before and after pictures. And I was actually at a meeting last night with Aaron Tagg from MnDOT, and they're actually working on that right now. So I think to your point, I think you made a few comments to MnDOT that they took to heart last week.
Yeah, no, I think they are, I didn't mean to suggest otherwise. I think they're a good partner, but they're a big agency and they got a lot on their plate even beyond this project. And so it's one where I think we'll, just based on my experience with Crosstown Commons, there's a lot of vigilance that you need to have around kind of what are the moving parts with such a large construction project and being able to work with this big partner on how they're able to respond and serve the public. So.
Any other questions or comments? Well, clearly a massive undertaking, and of course, as Council Vice President Glidden has indicated, a commensurate amount of input from the committee will be needed as well, moving through the project. With that, I will move to receive and file our update. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Dissenting nay. Thank you. Good work.
Thank you.
And with that, we are adjourned.